with another Wargaming in Miniature video. In this video we're going to continue on with my Waterloo project, but in today's video we're talking about battle mats. I'm going to make a battle mat for my Waterloo project using a painter's drop cloth. This cloth is a canvas. It's very light. I decided to go with the lightweight 8-ounce seamless drop cloth. So a lot of drop cloths, if you don't specifically go with the seamless, it will actually have a very thick stitched seam right down the center. It's how they put two sheets of canvas together to make a larger canvas to be able to cover your battlefield. Well, I today went with a seamless 8-ounce drop cloth, and I went with the 6 by 9. So I've got a 6 foot by 9 foot. My table is only 9 feet long. It's 5 foot wide, so this means I'll have like 6 inches off each edge. This video that you hear is outside because I'm going to be using spray primers and spray paints on this, and so you might hear traffic or the wind or anything like that. Okay, so just so you know, I used flat gray primer on that corner right there, and I used a flat red primer right here, which actually comes out of brown. I primed both. This is the bottom side, the underside, because I do plan to prime both sides. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring the camera in a lot closer so you can see what the primer looks like on the canvas, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like underneath before we prime on both sides. Basically, I want to show you how it bleeds through and how that can be used to your advantage. Okay, so this is the flat gray. This is an actual surface that you would be gaming on. This is actually the underside because I actually plan to make this double-sided, but for now we're just going to work on one side. But I went ahead and primed it light gray to show you that it does bleed through. I don't know if you can see that, but it's very light. It just makes the what do you call it? It makes the gaps in the stitching darker, right? But the stitching is still good. All right. Now, what I'm hoping is by priming both sides, and this is an experiment. Well, by priming both sides, I'll be filling those gaps so that when I go to actually paint the thing, it will not bleed through as badly because the primer will have filled those gaps. Okay, now let's take a look at this red primer. Flat red, comes out as actually kind of brown in my eyes. Let's flip it and kind of take a look and see what you see. Okay, so again, it fills in the gaps, but I mean there's a little bit of bleed through right here. But you know what? On a battlefield, you get a little bit of brown when you go to actually paint the battlefield. If you're painting it with greens and browns, if it bleeds through, so what? I mean, it's grass, it's dirt, it's the fields that you're going to be playing over. So right now I think this is pretty good. So now what I'm going to do is flip it, prime it again in those areas, and then I'm going to actually paint it with some lighter colors like greens and tans and see if they bleed through. Alright, now just so you know, let's go ahead and get this camera. Alright, now just so you know, I'm using, am I on camera? It's hard to see because of the glare. Let's start that all over. Back here. Oh, it's upside down, no wonder. It's still upside down. Okay, there we go. Alright, just so you know, I'm using Rust-Oleum flat red primer, but I also have one of these gun can or can guns by Krylon on here so that when I spray, it's a lot easier. I just squeeze here instead of using my finger, because if you're doing an entire project like this, it could get extremely tiresome. A lot of wind. Trying to let some of the wind die down so I'm not wasting any primer. Now I'm not going for 100% coverage. I don't need, like I said, I don't need 100% coverage. Because I'm going to be painting on top of that with my woodland colors. Okay, let me get the gray. Alright guys, what I've done so far is this is the bottom side, this is the back side. If you notice on the sides, you'll see where the seam of the side seams fold to make the edge of the trim, and I put the bottom of the fold on the bottom, so when I flip it over, it'll tuck underneath. Okay, so this is just a gray primer on the back. This is really just to seal the fabric. I'm going to flip this over, then using my stencil, I'm going to draw out where I think the roads, the river, and the woods should be. And then we'll go to start painting the battlefield. Alright, so let me go ahead and let this dry for a minute before we do that. But then I'm going to start making some stencils. And let me show you what I mean by that. So I've got some cardboard. I've got like a dozen of these. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these to be the sides of a road or a river or anything. And then here, I'll show you what I mean by that. The road I want to be pretty straight because it's a highway. I want it to be fairly straight. So I don't think I'm going to do any cutting on that. I'm just gonna lay these two down and then paint like that, and then you'll have a road. But for a river, I want to be able to cut. I don't want it to go perfectly straight. I want it to be winding and curving. So what I'll do is I'll take my handy dandy knife and I will cut a random pattern. Okay, just a random pattern. I didn't need to measure it out or anything like that. And let's make sure this goes all the way through. And that's why I've got it on multiple sheets, so that I don't cut all the way through. Okay. All right, I see how you want to be. There you go. Okay, so now, instead of a road, when I lay this down and I spray, I'll have a river pattern. Now, if I spray too close to the edge, it'll get all messy, right? So, what I'll do is, I'll probably do something like that. That way, it'll come to an end on both sides, actually. Okay, I want my rivers to be approximately 1.5 inches wide. So, I got some tape here. Now, these stencils can be reused. They can be used over and over and over. Okay, and that's one stencil, right? Now I plan to make, and then I can use straight edges like this for the roads. That's not a problem, because my roads are not going to be winding roads. They're going to be pretty much just, well, actually there is one spot where the road turns, but most of it is just straight across and straight across, most of it. All right, now this step right here, I flipped it over. Used my tape measure and my map of the battlefield, and you might not be able to see it, but I put little black markers, black Sharpie marker dotted lines down where I want the roads. I haven't done it for the rivers yet. I just want to do the roads real quick. But what we're going to do is, I got some satin spring grass here. This is like a bright green. I wanted to do this deliberately. What we're going to do is, without a stencil, I'm just going to paint the two roads in green. I'm going to just, and without a stencil or anything, so there's going to be a lot of overspray. And then when I go back in to do the roads, I'll lay the stencils down and paint the brown. And when I paint the brown, the green will kind of stick out from the edges, so it'll kind of accentuate or highlight the actual road. So let's go ahead and show you what I mean by that. Alright, it should be fairly simple because there's no measuring. I've got the lines already out, I've already measured. And there's no need to be precise because this is not the stencil road. See what I mean? Looks like those black magic markers are gonna shine through the paint. That's okay, because this is only one layer. Don't forget, I'm still going to be doing a brown layer. And the road I'm planning on doing about 1.5 to 2 inches. I haven't decided yet. I think 2 inches actually, because that's the width of a cavalry stand, 50 millimeters. So I figured I'd do a 2-inch road. And as you know, I'm doing a Quatre Bras battlefield. I know this is part of my Waterloo campaign project that I'm doing. I plan to do Quatre Bras, the left flank, the right flank of Waterloo, and then possibly even the Prussians at Plans Noir. Now this is the main road that the French will be using to attack, and that's fine. And it's imperfect. I wanted it to be imperfect. Alright, now let me get the next color and I'll be right back. Okay guys, now before we start doing the roads, I brought out another color. This is going to be my Rust-Oleum Camouflage Deep Forest Green. It's a very dark green, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint near the roads to kind of give it a two-tone effect, but also to keep me from painting up close to the road when I'm doing the fields, so that I don't overspray the fields and cover the roads. So this is basically just like my safety border area. Now this has real good coverage on this canvas. Okay, now there's a lot of little roads, and not roads, there are field trails and side trails and trails between the bushes and stuff like that I don't think I'm going to model on the battlefield. And the main reason why, they don't do anything. Now what I might do is I might just put fields out and leave gaps in the field with fences to kind of give the illusion that there's a trail or a road there. Okay, but let me let this dry, and then what we'll do is we'll lay some stencils down and we'll actually paint the brown roads. Okay, the next color we're going to use is this flat red primer. Like I said I was going to be using. It's that same color as what's down there on the end. But we're going to do the roads in the flat red primer. As you can see, I made my stencil. I made it so that it'll stay permanently 2 inches apart, so I don't make any mistakes. I'm kind of anal that way. We're going to start down here at the bottom. I'm going to cover the green, try to stay in the middle of the green. On the road to Quatre Bras. Okay. The stencil goes over the edge of the mat so that I can spray all the way to the edge. So let's do it. Because the stencil is not laying perfectly flat on the ground, you're going to see a little bit of overspray on the stencil, but that's okay. And I'm spraying pretty much straight up and down so that the overspray is minimized. Of course, it's not completely finished because I still have to do fields and edging of the roads and things like that. But you're starting to see how it's coming together. And remember, like hedges and walls and fences and stuff like that, or even lichen or whatever is going to go along the edge of these roads, so it'll disguise the straight edges that there are. And I'm doing a little heavy. And I even considered using like a gloss because of the mud. Because the roads were kind of muddy. Okay, so now up here, every foot the road kind of does a small turn. So what I need to do is do just a little bit at a time over here. Kind of like that. So we got the roads started, and we got the fields, kind of the edging of the roads started. And all right, now it's getting dark. This is later in the afternoon, and it's starting to get a little chilly outside. The paint's not going to dry properly if I keep going. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the video here. This is going to be the end of part 1, and then tomorrow I will do part 2. So part 2 will be me finishing this. So because it's actually supposed to be like 2 degrees warmer tomorrow. Okay, so thanks for coming out and watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. That way, when I do upload videos like this, you'll be notified. And I will catch you tomorrow on the next video.